Perfect. Well, hi guys. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. Just on the RA Group, we are a collection of specialist food and guest services companies bound together by a shared purpose of delivering exceptional customer service. So there are three sort of sections in my business. We've got restaurant associates, that is a corporate sort of catering to banks and some really, really lovely top quality companies. Then we've also got the RA venues side, which we look after quite a few, a big collection actually of venues around UK and Ireland. And then Rapport, which is our guest services as well. So what I do is I'm the wine and service trainer, but I'm not just the wine and service trainer. I do a little bit more than that. I'm also one of the main wine and spirit buyers for the company too, and I do a lot around mental health first aid awareness as well. So it's a very busy job. But a little bit about my background. I'm originally from South Africa, probably can't hear it, grew up in Dubai, weird accent. But I studied hotel management down there after I realized I was never actually going to be a ballerina at how tall am I? 4'10". So it was never going to work for me. So I decided hospitality was the way to go because you're kind of on stage anyway, right? And doing that, I managed to get a job up in Scotland as a waitress. And then I went down had an internal transfer with the Roux family down to London to work as a sommelier at La Gavroche, which was pretty cool because I had basically zero wine knowledge and thrown in right at the deep end as a commis sommelier. So I have to say that it was probably the best way to learn in my experience anyway. And from there, I went to after that, I actually worked for Jascott's Wine Merchants for a year as their purchasing assistant. So I've also done a little bit of purchasing on that side and also being a supplier. And then I went straight back into the industry and worked at a couple of restaurants and ran a wine bar in Clapham Common, and then found my sort of passion for training and teaching. And I was a front of house manager and tutor at London South East Colleges down in Orpington, teaching sort of the next generation front of house, cocktails, wine, barista, all of that kind of stuff, which was very eye-opening because 14 to 18-year-olds are a little difficult to keep entertained while you're training. But we had an on-site restaurant there, and it was completely student run. So I just sort of managed it, which had its challenges, but also was really inspiring. The next generation coming up it's going to be really cool. And now I've gone into RA Group. I was a general manager for them for a little bit. And here I am as wine and service trainer.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Steph, you mentioned that you started, from, after abandoning your ballerina dream, and you started to have your first job in the restaurant. I mean, is it something that you just like the restaurant environment, or is it something that you, after picking and choose your first job, or you just seize the chance of whatever comes to you first? Is it, so basically the question is, what leads you to hospitality? Because that was a starting point, and then
yes,
on and on.
So when I was 15, I needed to get a part-time job because I wanted a little bit of extra spending money. So I ended up working at a cafe in my home little town called Hillcrest in Durban, South Africa. And there I just sort of fell in love with front of house. I did a little bit of time in the kitchen. Wasn't my thing. Even went so far to do a trial shift at La Gavroche in the kitchen, one day in the kitchen, one day front of house. And, when Michel Roux Jr. tells you, front of house is your thing, you kind of listen to him. So, no, I just sort of fell in love with the whole world and learning about the different food, different, how service isn't just it's not easy. It's really, really is quite difficult to be that sort of person where you are cool, calm, collected, but still working as hard as you can to meet all of your tables and greet them and make sure they're making the right decisions, and also the knowledge behind it all. Because especially as a sommelier, you don't just know your wine list, you also have to know your full menu so you can make proper decisions, educated decisions on food and wine matches for your guests.
Yeah. So then, so you got also the experiences working for a wine merchant like Jessica's. So then, so from all these different experiences, and that leads to, does that all helpful that leads you to where you are now as a wine trainer and making decisions for wine buying?
Yes, it was absolutely instrumental into where I am now, all of the experience. I didn't actually have a plan.
Okay.
I've sort of tried to gather as much information as I could, as much experience from around the industry as I could, so I could make, educated decisions further down the line. So I've been working in the UK for about 10 years, and to be honest, I've probably had close to 7 or 8 different jobs now, just purely because I was looking for all of that information and all of that experience to get to where I am and be able to draw on everything that I've learned in the last sort of 10 years. But no, I didn't have a plan per se. I just knew I wanted to learn everything that I could. I'm a bit of a geek.
So then comparing working for, smaller wine restaurants and compared to now, I mean, how many people were working for the RA group, basically?
Oh, sort of north of 4,500.
Exactly. So that's that's a big change, right? So what do you think in comparison to two different type of like companies? I mean, one is huge, the other are smaller, outlets, and pros and cons?
Well, pros with a smaller sort of outlet, you do have the time to spend one-on-one time with each and every person, I would say, and really get in depth. With a larger organization, I'm having to change how I train, because I don't really like to train groups larger than, say, 15 at a time, because I just don't think you can give the right sort of focus onto your trainees. So I'm just trying to work out how maybe even Zoom meetings so we can get a few more. And obviously with what's going on now, we've all had to change quite a bit. But having a large organization to work in is incredible, because it's never the same every day. It's always different. I only started this position back in January, and in the first couple of months of working, I had been all over the UK training as far up as Dalby Forest, which is really cool.
Yeah. So then was it because that you expressed the interest of, becoming a wine trainer, or how, for people who wanted to go to a position like a wine trainer for a big group, what's your suggestion? I mean, do you need to show yourself, because there are so many people working in the same company, and how do you seize the opportunity, basically?
Yes, you need to sort of show yourself and push yourself out there a bit. I mean, I've done my WSET training up to level 3. I've currently studying my diploma, which is awesome, loving it. But with that, I've also done my WSET educators program too, so I can teach for them. So that was where I had started, as I did that. And then I'm working towards RA Group becoming an APP, so that I can deliver the content WSET level 1 and level 2. As soon as I've done my diploma, then I can do level 3 as well, which is awesome. But that sort of started my momentum within the business to sort of push through and say, look, I've already got these skills. Look at all of the experience I've had. I built a whole slide deck of a presentation with how I think is going to impact our business in a positive way. And also, professional development for all of our employees is so important too. And wine is something that everybody seems to really love. So teaching people about, giving them a bit more information about our wine list, making better decisions, upselling, and all of that. So I'd done a big survey within the company as well, just to build up as much as I could to sort of bring all the data as well as my enthusiasm and my personality to the table and be like, hey, I can do this. I think we should really do this.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's something that's quite interesting. So basically, it's not that the company asking you to do different things, but you actually took the initiative to.
Yes.
Okay, that's really interesting. So the next question from me is there a normal day for you? I mean, what is a normal day for you, if there's one?
So pre-lockdown, my normal day would start at I'd be in the office at 7:30 because I like to be there before other people so I can get all my emails done. And then after that, it would be sort of going around to different sites delivering training, be it wine training or service training, because obviously a big part of what I do is service and customer service training as well. And then going around delivering my training, making sure people have taken on board, doing a couple of observations, giving some feedback, and then usually doing a wine tasting event some nights, like with Ellie from Jascott's as well. we usually do quite a lot of evening events. Yeah, and that's pretty much a normal day pre-lockdown. Right now, I'm keeping myself busy with a series of webcasts for the RA group. I'm doing a couple of these with you guys. And also, I'm writing a new customer experience program from scratch, which is awesome.
So very busy. And yeah, so then, so what is your suggestion now? I mean, that this is going to be a last question from me because I open up to the other people. And so what is your suggestion for people who wanted to, go to the industry, be it like a catering company, or is it as a wine sommelier, or as a wine trainer, or even as a, making decision for wine buying? What's your suggestion? Do they need to go for certain qualification, or do they need to have certain experiences or certain personalities?
I think, it's a hard one because our industry in hospitality, you don't necessarily need firm qualifications. I've known people who are in high up positions and they didn't even go to college or university. But with the wine side, because there is so much theory, I would suggest going through some of the WSET courses, or even with you, Leona, some of the WineEd courses. They're really, really good and really, really solid. Just so you've got some of that theory behind it. And then just go do it. No matter how many places you give your CV into and they go, no, well, you don't have the experience, just keep pushing. Write a really, really solid opening letter or paragraph at the top of your CV and just really, showcase how you think you can change their business, what you can bring to their business. I think that's the most important, because people see CVs and automatically, I know this, I've done it in the past, and you go straight down to the experience and just go, well, they don't have the experience. But that doesn't matter. Mindset is so much more important than skill set when you're hiring at that level. And because you can learn a skill, you can learn all of that. But if people have got that right mindset, you just got to go and do it.
Yeah.
And perseverance.
Yeah, exactly. So then, so I think we always ask this question. I know probably you've been asked for so many times. As a wine trainer, we have to ask this question. And what is your favorite wine?
It's like asking, I don't know, like which one's my favorite cat? It's hard. Well, for me, it depends on time of day and all that. But the one wine that got me into the industry, I've got a bottle here. This is a wine very close to my heart. Please excuse all of the dust. It's the Mielis Rubicon. It's very close to my heart because it's from Stellenbosch, South Africa. And as the story goes, the Robertsons, when they first came to South Africa, actually had a piece of land in that vineyard. So my dad always would tell that story and give me a tiny little taste as I was growing up. And that's where I grew my love from wines. So if I had to pick one sort of desert island, I'd say Mielis Rubicon. 2003 was the best vintage for me, but I've got a 2008, which was actually my leaving gift from Jascott. So I've still got it.
Time to drink.
I think so.
Okay, so I think I would like to open this the next few minutes to anyone who wants to ask any questions, and don't be shy. If you want to type the questions, you'll be welcome. And then otherwise you can just show your face and ask some questions.
Yay!
Yeah, and so while we are waiting for people to ask questions, and so what about like RA Group? I mean, there are other like catering companies as well in the UK. I mean, would you be able to tell us a little bit more for people who are not really familiar with, how a catering company works or catering group works? How, would you share a little bit more about, how this all works?
So catering companies. So, I mean, from the corporate catering side, the RA side of it, it is very different to the restaurant world, but then it isn't either, because you've sort of divided up into the sort of casual or employee dining, where it is very much like a high street, I'd say, restaurant, but it is a fixed pool of customers. So it's the same people in the building coming in and day out. So making sure you've got the choice is really, really important. But then also the other side of it is hospitality. So your hospitality suite with all of the tea and coffee meetings, some of the buffets, then the events, fine dining. I mean, there's a massive fine dining sort of section within our business where it's quite cool, because they use the meeting rooms, but then it's almost like you're in your own private little restaurant that's only you guys. And it's great to sort of serve in that way. And then onto the big venues like some of the zoos around the country, so making sure everybody's got enough ice creams on a hot day and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really interesting. It's a very varied sort of sector of the business of hospitality. And some people, I don't think, give the credit to it that it deserves, because it's so varied, it is difficult, but it is, top-notch services happening within these buildings and these venues.
Mm-hmm. I've got a question privately to me, and to say that is, in your opinion, is networking important for working in the hospitality industry?
Yes. So often it's who you know, not what you know. And that is quite true to the hospitality industry, because if people know your face, know your name, or even you've served them in a restaurant before, they're more likely to be like, oh yeah, I remember that, and I'm, yes, I loved your service, fantastic, yes, I do want you here, I want you to work with us. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Definitely, I think it's relevant to all the industry, okay, and the drinks business especially. There's one question from Chantel. What are the criteria most relevant when purchasing wine for such a wide group, big group like RA Group?
Chantel, is it the criteria around the wine? I would say so, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it really depends on wine and price. Perfect. Thank you, Chantel. It really depends on what you're looking for, because obviously the wine lists are so wide and varied. Now, with a group such as our RA Group, our wine lists aren't sort of 444, because what I'm doing is sort of a central wine list that our general managers can then pick for their businesses. So that really, really depends. So I'm always looking for quality for price points. getting that real good quality, but a fantastic price as well at the same time. Because there's no point in having sort of, a Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand at a certain price if the quality just isn't there. We just don't want to put that in front of people, really.
But how about spirits? Do your group also purchase spirits, I believe? Do you make decisions on that as well?
Yes, so that's something I'm starting to focus on alongside the wines, because we do have quite a lot of bar spaces, and obviously within the hospitality side of it, they do have sort of small bars and they do basic cocktails. So especially with the spirits, we are looking at, and actually with the wines as well, a lot of local sort of options. I'm a big fan of keeping it local, championing the English wines as well as spirits, because I think they've got a massive place in the business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's another question from Emma. What is the benefit of a contract caterer have a specific wine trainer when many suppliers offer wine training for free?
That is a fantastic question. Now, with me being a wine trainer specifically just for RA Group, that doesn't mean I can't use my wonderful suppliers anyway, because I do. I use obviously you guys quite often. Yeah. Just to help, because I can't train, what did we say, over 4,000 people by myself. But the benefit of it is that everything is organized through me, and I can make sure it's all at the right level. But then I can also go in and at a site level and do some bespoke site trainings after the sort of the training that the suppliers offer, because often that is sort of a set training course and not bespoke to the sites or to the sector.
Okay, so then there's another question. So what's the training needs you see from a big group like yours? So, what's on the top list as a trainer?
So from a service and a wine point of view, it's sort of customer service would be the top one. And that also bleeds into sort of the wine training, because customer service is so important, because it's not just the service, it's the whole experience for the guest. From a wine point of view, it is that sort of basic training. What is wine, how it's made, how you taste it, different flavor profiles, basic food and wine matching. But the sort of bespoke site training where I take their wine lists, and Ellie's actually done some work on this for me as well, where you take their wine lists and actually train the staff on those wine lists, making them pick out 2 to 3 facts of each wine, so they've got a talking point with their guests. That's what I've seen so far.
Yeah. So how do you motivate people? Because for the experience that I had training, running some training sessions for your group, you can see there are so a vast majority of people. Some have zero wine knowledge but are interested, but some have already got a bit. So then how do you motivate people, just to tell them like it is important to do such training, or do you kind of force them in a way to do a certain set of training a year? How does it work to motivate them and to engage with them?
So especially with the wine training, from a hospitality point of view, I try and get each and every hospitality assistant through at least a basic wine training every year, so that once the bug bites, you're sort of hooked, I feel. And people who don't have that knowledge, once you've got a little taste for it, you're just hungry for more. And they'll see their service change. They'll see that it's a more natural service style. They'll see that they're more confident, or that their colleagues have gone on this and they're more confident. And I really think that helps a lot with the motivation. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just having fabulous trainers in the business. And also the actual wine tasting at the end of the training session helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Right, okay, so we've got a couple of minutes. If anyone still wanted to ask any question, this is the time. I can see Andrea, you always ask questions.
Not today. Every question I had in mind has been answered, so yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, I think we covered quite a lot, and we asked a lot more questions than usual, and which is good. So, and so this is so if you have any other questions that you want to ask, just email us. And also, Stephanie Robertson is also on LinkedIn, so you can easily find her as well if you wanted to connect. And so. Thank you all very much for today, and the session will be recorded as well. If you know any other your friends or colleagues might be interested, and you'll be able to find it on our YouTube channel. Okay, so thank you once again for Steph, and all of you have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.